Okay, maybe weird opening line for a video, but Quadeca is quietly releasing some of his best stuff ever. You may have seen me interview him or review his music on the channel before. He was once a pretty big YouTube rapper that while he did have a passionate cult following, he wasn't necessarily the kind of artist that your average music nerd would champion or anything like that. But then as he continued to release more and more music, he really kind of flipped that narrative on its head, releasing last year one of the most well-received albums among that kind of audience, I Didn't Mean to Haunt You, a record that saw Quadeca still to some degree in touch with his hip-hop roots, but also embracing really sad, despondent, shoegazy, experimental, high concept, bedroom singer-songwriter lo-fi pop. And while the record was very good, it was also just a massive break from anything he had done in the past, even the material he released on his previous album to some degree. Now, recently, he's been following I Didn't Mean to Haunt You up with these little spurts of new songs that he's titling Scrapyard, 1, 2, 3, putting out a few songs here, a few songs there, and sure, maybe some of what's here is left over from the last album or isn't conceptual enough to fit in with the narrative or overall vibe of another project he might have in mind. But the quality of these tracks would lead you to believe anything but. The first track off this Scrapyard 1 single, A La Carte, which features Breakins, whose sound and vibe I can go either way on, really. As many of you may remember, I didn't really like his last album, but I do like the appearance he makes here, and I think Ben does a great job of kind of sitting between these various genres of emo and pop and hip-hop, and vocally does it in such a way with this tremored, traumaed vibrato that reminds me of Connor Oberst of Bright Eyes. My favorite poem is what I couldn't say to you. The production on the track is really rich too, from the warm bass to the jangly layers of guitars kind of hanging in the background, the dusty beats. Then there's the second track on Scrapyard 1, You Don't Know Me Like That, which may read as a little derivative to Brockhampton fans, as you do have this kind of very light, cutesy beat, which feels like a blend of left field hip hop and pop, and on top of that, Ben is doing a combination of rapping and singing with this chipmunk pitch shift on his voice. But the song is there, the flows are good, the passion really comes through the auto-tune, and honestly, if this track did actually end up on one of those older Brockhampton projects, it would be one of the best. Then let's move on to Scrapyard 2, which opens up with Dust Cutter, which is an even weirder and more ghostly and noisy fusion of bedroom pop and hip-hop with more strained, wild, and squeaky inflections coming off the vocals. Once again, the singing is impassioned, but is so out there, it feels like Ben is in character to some degree. He sounds like a sad, tortured suburban ghost just howling and wailing over this perfectly groovy but also rustic and lo-fi combo of just washed out guitars and really primped beats. Under My Skin achieves a lot of these same vibes, but with a more normal vocal register, plus a lot more layers and atmosphere around the track that leads to some pretty epic and emotional crescendos. I sort of expected all the tracks in this series to come off super simple, not very layered, maybe almost dry, but this song surprised me. And even I Make It Look Effortless, with it being 1 minute long, is still a very memorable banger. I actually wish this track was 2 or 3 times longer than it currently is, because Ben does a great job of bringing together that old Quadeca rap braggadocio with his new despondent, more intimate and sadder style. Does it in such a way to where it feels like he's totally building an entirely new lane for himself in this emo rap fusion thing, or he's just making a different genre entirely. And again, this stuff is referred to as scrapyard material. I don't know if this is the progression he's going in, or if these are the experiments that didn't quite work because he wanted to make such a clean break from his older sound on his latest record. But these little moments feel like either an interesting transitional period or even the next step where he's kind of bringing his older self back around a bit and making it work within the context of these aesthetics he's been experimenting on with his most recent material. On Scrapyard 3, Even If I Tried is another fantastic track that is loaded with strange, epic layers of sound. Meanwhile, Easier feels like Ben is taking his current style and then almost like applying an R&B style rant, emotional rant type formula to it. I was busy being busy, I was busy doing everything in my strength to not acknowledge you. Probably not hitting that 100%, but like this delivery and this angle of things really works for Ben too. Meanwhile, the last track, Guess Who, actually feels like Ben is kind of bordering on doing a rage cut, especially with how like aggressive and repetitive and chant-like some of the flows and refrains get. On top of that, just how distorted and lo-fi the beat is as it progresses. It's one of the most killer and hard-hitting tracks of the Scrapyard bunch, which leaves me wanting more, a lot more, and again, makes me wonder, is this like a direction Ben is going to be heading in from here? Is he testing out the waters? Or are we merely getting like more missing links in that transition from Me to You to I Didn't Mean to Haunt You? Because if that's all these tracks are, I could certainly see it. And if that means Ben is like kind of over and done with a lot of the sounds and vibes that are presented on these songs, so be it. But I still think What's Here is a really good show of the potential for these two different worlds within Ben, probably a lot more than two, frankly, to work together in tandem or at least be in a bit more of a harmonious balance. I'm really loving these tracks, loving these singles. I hope you guys are too. And if you consider yourself to be a Quadeca fan or somebody who's really enjoyed the change musically he's been undergoing over the past couple of years, don't let these songs slip by you. Let me know what you think of them in the comments if you've given them a shot, and thank you for watching. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Hit that up with a link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Quadeca, Scrapyard, forever.